Help us change the culture by buying our latest single from Timcast Records, Only Ever Wanted, by clicking the link in the description below. I want to jump to this next story from Timcast.com. Senator Lindsey Graham says there will be riots in the streets if Trump is indicted.
Oh boy.
Senator Lindsey Graham has warned there'll be riots in the street if Trump is indicted. The Republican South Carolina senator made the remarks during an appearance on Fox News' Sunday Night in America over the weekend. Echoing Trump's recent claim that America is now a lawless country, Graham said there is no law when it comes to taking down the former president. Quote, most Republicans, including me, as a typo in there, Timcast.com, believe when it comes to Trump, there is no law. It's all about getting him. And I'll say this. If there is a prosecution of Donald Trump for mishandling classified information and after the Clinton debacle, there will be riots in the streets. I completely disagree. I 100% disagree. The right doesn't riot.
No, we would never.
I mean, there's been a few instances. I mean, January 6th, for instance, was pretty bad, but it's like they just don't. I remember I was at Trump Tower and there were people protesting it. And there was a guy who was, was asking questions about what's going on. And they said and then he was like, well, I'm a Trump supporter, but, I don't know. And then I was like, why don't you guys come out and like voice your support? Oh, no. I couldn't do that. Well, there you go. The end result of refusing to speak your mind is being obliterated from culture and from mainstream society. Your inability to stand up and support the things you like or speak out in support of anything related to your values will be the end of your values.
Yeah, well, they know this, right? Like, I mean, I think that was a big part in why Joe Biden won, is that people didn't want riots again. I heard that from many of my friends, many of my liberal friends. They were like, yeah, I actually don't agree with what a lot of Joe says. I actually like Trump's fiscal policy, or I like Trump for whatever reason, but I don't want riots. I don't want my city to burn down. They lived in Chicago or they lived in Florida. They lived in these different cities around the country. People just didn't want the riots. They were fed up with it. And I think the media knowing this, the government, people knowing this is even maybe part in, why they raided his home or why they take this massive action against the president, because they know they'll get away with it.
I'm so disappointed that he didn't send in the National Guard tonight too, man. I'll talk about it over and over again when it comes up, but like, what a failure of leadership to allow those riots to burn.
Absolutely.
I'm not a big fan of Lindsey Graham. I don't like his alcoholism. I think he's personally, I think he's an alcoholic when I look in his eyes.
What does that have to do with it?
But
well, okay.
Personal feelings aside, Lindsey, I don't know if you're an alcoholic or if you struggle with alcoholism. I'm sorry. Hope you can overcome that. But if this happens, there will be riots. That's not a form of incitement, but it kind of sounds like you're telling people to go riot if it happens. So watch your tone. Secondly, he's not wrong about what he's saying about the Biden crap.
Look. The Daily Wire recently hired a Disney executive, and people started ragging on him for it. And I'm just like, the CEO of this company goes to church on Sunday, guys. Yeah. The Disney guy now works for him. Why are you ragging on the Daily Wire over this? Why are people saying you better explain this? Yeah, it's called winning. It's called taking over the industry and taking over the culture. That's a problem, I think. Purity tests. It is what it is. But the left is so obedient to their cult. They have a major advantage over the culture war right. And that the culture war right will bicker. The left will devour each other, but the individualists on the right are more defiant and willing to just say what they want to say.
I think what's happening is this left idea, this cultism is like a communist cultism kind of thing. And there's so much of the world is communist in China, and in at least a lot of the Russian holdover states have communist threads throughout, whether or not they're overtly communist. So it's, for the first time in human history, is bleeding through the internet into American culture. Like, we didn't have the internet before. It wasn't so pervasive and permeable. And so we're seeing this insane bubble of communist behavior. It's crazy. It's not American. It's not normal in the United States. They thought the FBI went after this for like 60 years or something. 50 years they were trying to stop the communist overthrow. I don't like
it turns out they were the communists.
Because it's like, it's more than just that. Like the Chinese culture, the CCP, it's not real communism. It's like an evolution, a new form of technocratic, oversight that's not just, but there are communist aspects to it.
I think the solution to a lot of this stuff is ignore the tribes. I think the left is the cultier side, but the right has their issues, sure, but it's the exception, not the rule. I think the issue is just compete in the space, fund and grow and assert yourself in these spaces, which is what we've been trying to do. It's why we're not launching overtly political stuff. So why we're not launching stuff to try and pander to Trump supporters or liberals or whatever. We're trying to make things that'll be entertaining enough for regular people.
Well, I think, this is something that the left gets really right and they're really good at is they have their allies and they clearly define their enemies. And they let, people in the Democratic Party, they'll slip up, they'll make a mistake, but they won't banish them, right? And the right keeps thinking that they're going to win brownie points for taking the high road, right? The staffer says something that's a little bit uncouth and then they banish them. They say, well, we're not racist. Well, we're not sexist. It's like they're already calling you that. You're not going to win brownie points for taking the high road. And again, this is what the left does really well. It's why I said earlier, it's their superpower. Their cult mentality is their superpower, is they can mess up. They can do actually racist things like Katie Hobbs, but did they bring that up? Did they call it her racism? No, because they know that Katie Hobbs is are their ally. They will help her to get through that. And they don't care because they have their allies and they have their enemies. And the right needs to get this through their heads or they're going to continue losing.
Yeah, it's not a time for people to sit still and just take whatever the high road, to turn the other cheek, to look the other way. It's not the time to do that. It's the time to create stuff, to create phenomenal, addictive art that is so good.
We're working on a video game, I don't know. It's really hard work. Andrew, our game designer, is doing an incredible job. It's real fun. Seamus is doing the animations and stuff. And this is not, I guess we haven't released a lot of information about the game. We've shown like clips of it and stuff. Man, it's relatively political, but it's not. The game itself is just a video game.
We're going to be able to play as you, Tim, with little customizable different color beanies.
That'd be great.
No, but we I think Ian's going to be in it. Actually,
You got to pay 99 cents to get the skin.
no, I don't know
Little
about that.
DLC action.
I think you're going to end up being
Hot
like a
cosmetic
special character
action.
or something.
I
Like
mean,
you sell
that's-
rocks or something.
Oh,
like
that's
that.
a good idea.
Yeah,
I'll be the
you sell
merchant.
rocks.
Hey, man.
Yeah, that's
That-
something the left also does really well. They're the creatives. They're making movies. They're making the art.
But they're losing it. And now's the opportunity. That's why it's like,
Well, thanks to people like you, right? Putting out your songs and, driving traffic and, like you said, rejecting the mainstream culture, rejecting the mainstream media. And
it has been one of the most stressful things ever, doing all this work to launch music, more so than like, I've been playing music since I was like 7, but I didn't expect any of this stuff to start happening. Like 1 million views. I was just like, okay. Like we left the show on Friday and like, oh, you're #1 in alt rock on iTunes. And I was like, holy crap. And then the attacks we started getting have been unrelenting.
I'm going to stop using the term attack when it comes to verbal crap. I don't
Well,
like
okay.
softening that word.
What's the word we're looking for then?
Complaints.
But they're not legitimate.
Complaint. Just
why won't you call it an attack?
because it's softening the term attack and then making street violence less threatening.
I don't think so. Look, the goal is to inflict. It's harassment, I guess. If the goal is to inflict emotional harm, but what I see here is, we launched Pop Culture Crisis. It's growing really, really well for a show that's only like half a year old. 40,000 subs, getting thousands of views in their episodes. Brett and Mary are just doing an amazing job, and it's talking about pop culture. It's not political, and that's the point. It's like we want to just meet people where they are and produce content for them, and then create a sphere of influence. No hate. No one came after us over this. Tales from the Inverted World, we got actually some positive. It's true crime, but then we put out a song that just took off like crazy. And all of a sudden, we have all of these left pundits just attacking us relentlessly. And I think it's because this is the move to make. The left took the arts over. They use the arts to influence children. They want the kids to grow up to be like them. Controlling movies, controlling superheroes, controlling TV shows. You can't turn on a show without getting some woke garbage message now. And that's what they're trying to instill in your kids. If they can't get them in the schools, they're going to get them on the TVs. And then parents who don't know better put their iPad in front of their kids, and the kids now just listening to all the stuff. So what happens when you get a Daily Wire producing movies? Daily Wire bought Hyperions, which was just a Hollywood movie. And they got really angry. There was that viral thread. This is exactly the point. Where they were like, I watched this movie and then I realized it was a Daily Wire movie. And I was like, oh no, what was I promoting? And I deleted it. Remember that? What were they shouting out?
I forget, but I remember this lady wrote this ridiculous article about how she actually enjoyed a Daily Wire movie, and she was really regretful because she had tweeted positive
Run,
things
Hide,
about
Fight.
it. Run, Hide, Fight.
Is that what it's called? Run, Hide, Fight?
Yeah, that's the
I think
movie's
so.
name.
Yeah.
So they tweeted that they watched Run, Hide, Fight, and it was really good, and they told people to watch it. And then people were like, that's the Daily Wire. And they went, oh no. Oh, I'm so sorry. Ben Shapiro walked into our podcast conference. I tell you this, they're not scared of you doing a show and being like, politics. because they know how to control you. They know how to say you're a fascist and then scare people away from talking to you. But when you make a movie that's really good, that they like, oh no. Now you're going to start influencing people. Now you're going to start winning friends and influencing people. And that's how they lose the culture war. It's remarkable to me that the right is so resistant in many ways, not everybody, to making culture in order to win a culture war. Andrew Breitbart said this, what was this now, like 14 years ago, that politics is downstream from culture. Every person on the right should be focused on art. Politics, of course. Tom MacDonald is probably one of the greatest musicians of our generation, because he's hitting powerful messages. He's speaking to tens of millions of people, and boy, are they pissed about it. This is what really grinds their gears and freaks them out. This is what wins, not rioting. When you're violent, they know how to control you. They know that normal people get scared of the violence. They can show that on TV screens all year and blame Donald Trump for it. But they can't do anything about? A song called FJB hitting #1. A song called Fake Woke hitting #1. The Daily Wire putting out apolitical movies that people enjoy. Yeah. That is freaking them out.
These people are pathetic, dude. Like, they're literally pathetic. I mean, I think they think that they're strong-minded. I think they think that they have some serious rooted values. But in reality, it's like you are so weak-minded that you have no idea. I mean, the Bible makes it clear that, the fear of man is a snare. And what that means is you live your life afraid of the opinions of people, of what people think about you, of what people are saying about you. Oh, the mob over there is going to think I look like this if I listen to Tim Pool. I actually like this song. I'm not actually going to stop listening to Tim Pool because I found out that he's an alt-right whatever. I'm just going to do it in secret. Like, imagine being so pathetic that you can't be yourself. You can't be yourself out in the open. You can actually like what you actually like because it's so politically polarized. Imagine being so pathetic that you cannot stand your ground and just be yourself. You're an NPC. You're a robot. You're controlled. You're controlled by the mob. You don't have an opinion for yourself. You're told what to believe. You're told what to believe by pressure and through fear. You may not even really believe it. You may not even really believe it, but you just know that, someone on TikTok believed it and they got canceled. I don't ever want to be that. People like that are pathetic and they're losers.
Well, this is the thing too. Like what we were saying about Nickelback. It's like, dude, you can rag on Nickelback all day and night, fine, whatever. But like, to deny, objectively, they scored a 4-week streak at the #1 spot. Like, that means people like that stuff. You don't have to like it. That's fine. But to act like they're not objectively successful is just weird cult-like behavior.
It is a form of losing too. Like, you call people losers, but it's like they lose their opportunity to be themselves, which is the most elevating
NPC.
and freeing experience on earth. If you have a chance as a human to speak openly about what you believe, and
yeah, these people do need to be prayed for. They are NPCs. What you were saying is exactly right, Drew. But that revelation is so powerful because I think, it's like if they're already calling me racist for just my beliefs that aren't controversial, if they're already calling me sexist, then I'm just going to go pedal to the metal and go full throttle and take it back in any way I can. Because like you said, they're NPCs, they're controlled by fear. And when you break that simulation, amazing things.
So you give people bravery?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, these people are destroying everything. I mean, you look at She-Hulk. Have you watched She-Hulk yet?
Yep.
Right? It's just this attack on men, right? It needs to be combated with men coming out and just attacking it as a response, right? Because when you let this agenda come out and everyone gets demasculinized, everyone gets feminized, and everything's toxic because you're masculine. No, be more masculine. Come out and be aggressive and push out against it.
But look at Eric July. Look at Ripaverse.
Yeah.
How much did he make on that?
I think it was like over 3 million.
3 million.
The Ripaverse.
The Ripaverse?
Yeah.
And what PayPal froze his money? This is the scariest thing to the cult. Successful culture building. Mm-hmm. They lose their minds over it. They have to reject it. They have to attack it. And they can't stop it. They can't. And that's, I think, when She-Hulk comes out and it's hilariously bad garbage or whatever, it's like the lowest rated show that Marvel's done yet. It's just, it's cringy. I give it like a C-. I watch it. There's some funny bits in it, but it is not, it is what it is. And if people like it, I'm fine with them liking it. Miss Marvel was way worse, in my opinion. That was like a magic school bus show, a PSA on partition in Pakistan or whatever. If you don't like it, let me ask you something. When you don't like Here we go. Drew, name a song you don't like.
Friday.
Rebecca Black.
Yeah.
Okay, that song was from 12 years ago, I think. Is there a song from this week that you don't like that's like in the news?
I don't know what's out right now.
Exactly, because you don't focus on things you don't like. You focus on the things you do like. So for these people to come out and start attacking and criticizing the Daily Wire, the stuff we're doing, or anybody else, that's when you know you're having an impact.
They're threatened.
Exactly.
The real threat, it's not that people in cultists can't stop the art, the phenomenal art that's appearing. It's that they don't want to. That's the real threat in their minds. It's like a cognitive dissonance. Like, I like this. I don't want to stop this. I was told that I'm supposed to fear it, but it's good and I feel better. And that's like this coming to terms with yourself or it's a phenomenal, it's a great thing to witness.
I think the response to She-Hulk should be what Eric July is doing. Daily Wire should be working on adaptations of his stuff. They should be like, okay, how do we turn this into a big show? Because clearly the audience wants it. There's a market opportunity, and that's how you win a culture war, by making culture. Look, dude, hearing that dude made over $3 million, it's a breath of fresh air. The more people start working on this stuff, the more people start producing and developing culture. Look, the elections are great, but politics is downstream from culture. You get a law in the books that your culture is unwilling to enforce, the law is meaningless. Even John Roberts didn't want to overturn Roe v. Wade because of where the culture was at. But then you end up with, these several other justices, these 4 other justices. And then it becomes, well, you got no choice now. That's Donald Trump getting them in. But look at what happens when you don't have the culture. They demonize Trump and they go after him relentlessly. You need, if every celebrity was more like, we have to support America, otherwise we'll lose our jobs, this country would be doing well. Mm-hmm. Instead, they're like, you have to hate America, otherwise we lose our jobs. That is an inverse economic incentive that is destroying this country.
Well, that's the dangerous thing about censorship, is that if you censor something enough, it's not going to solve any problems. It's just going to make that thing come back with a vengeance. It's going to swing back even harder. And I think that was, Trump's whole ethos, right? That they were just suppressing the right to spread. And then he came back with this, he came back intensely. And I think it's the same thing with masculinity. If you suppress masculinity enough, it's going to come back even harder. You see that with Andrew Tate. And regardless of all the things he says, it's like they're censoring masculinity. They're I'm an Eagle Scout. They kicked, they started letting women into the Boy Scouts. And it's like masculinity came back even harder and even more toxic, or whatever you want to call it. So I think this censorship stuff, it doesn't solve anything in the long term.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.